DJ turn it up, better DJ bring it back. Tell the DJ turn it up, better DJ bring it back. Tell them play that shit again, tell them that you like that. Like DJ turn it up, better DJ bring it, tell DJ turn it up, better DJ bring it, tell DJ turn it up, better DJ bring it, tell play that shit again, tell them that you like that. Like.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday night. So what a show did I have planned for you. I had themes, I had mentalities, I had whole videos and wonderful things planned for you. Even the idea of Philly. No one likes us, and we do care. And I was going to get into the Sixers and what they're being expected to play with and, all kinds of crazy ass shit. And then the Eagles decided to drop a bombshell about a week too late. So we're going to talk about some things, and we're going to talk about how the Philadelphia Eagles are one of the things that don't like us, the fans. We got people chiming in already. Adam, what is happening, buddy? We got to talk about it. We have to talk about the whole Howie thing because I sat for over an hour. So first off, I sat at 4 o'clock when Jeffrey Lurie was supposed to talk to us, the fans. 4:36, he finally gets to the podium. 4:38, whatever it was, and then he just talked, and he rambled, and he quickly learned that maybe the issue all along hasn't been Doug Pederson, hasn't been Carson Wentz, hasn't been Jalen Hurts, hasn't been Jim Schwartz, maybe not even Howie Roseman. The problem might just be Jeffrey Lurie has no idea what the hell is going on in this city. We got Kyle checking in. Let's go Flyers. Kyle, I got to tell you, for the first time in a while, I actually watched some Flyers hockey last night just so I could remember who some of these players were. I haven't been a big Flyer. I always, want them to win, but I haven't been following them that much. But I run a sports show, so I'm going to get in on my Flyers once the preseason inter-squad scrimmages stop. But I want to go back to my original idea here, right? It was not so long ago that Philadelphia was riding high, coming off of a Super Bowl win, right? And we got this mantra, we got this theme and this belief, right? We're from Philly. Fucking Philly. No one likes us and we don't care. We're a couple years removed from that. And as it turns out, we do care. We care a lot. We are the talk of the NFL because we fired a coach that 3 years ago won a Super Bowl, but the GM that's been here since 2000 is still here. The 76ers are getting a screw job as we speak. I'm watching this game out of the peripheral. Now they're currently winning, 32-28. But at what cost? At what cost? We're going to talk about how the rest of the NBA can cancel games, but if the Sixers have to roll out 7 of, and I can't even say of their very best, 7 of their still standing. We only know 7 or 6 of the 76ers. Adam's right. We're trashing the headlines care. So I want to take us back to a different time for a second, right? I want to show you guys something because I'm trying to get in the right mindset of this show. I love coming to you guys on Monday nights and talking. And just a couple of years ago, the Philadelphia Eagles were Super Bowl champions. And this song came out. And, we had probably heard it coming through once or twice. And I have one thing that you guys may not know about me is I'm also in a band, right? I'm in a cover band. And so I know a lot of really great and talented musicians. And one of those groups is a group called Go Gadget. And they did a great cover of this song. And I just want to get us a little bit enthused of where we're going to be before I absolutely tear this city apart with how much we have been getting screwed lately. So I present to you Go Gadget singing some Fly Eagles Fly before we really have to get in some shit tonight. Do you remember how good that felt? I do. I remember feeling good about the Philadelphia Eagles, that we were going someplace. Shout out to my boys in Go Gadget for that one. Here we are 3 years removed from a Super Bowl title. We knew we were going to be defensive coordinatorless. We knew that offensive coordinator was going to be a discussion. What we didn't expect 1 week ago, Jeffrey Lurie paraded out Howie Roseman and Doug Pederson to talk about the future of the Eagles. Doug didn't get a lot of questions because we hadn't talked to Howie. And here we were sitting there going, all right, they're going to bring him back. Mort reported they were going to bring him back. Ian Schefter, Rappaport, Adam Schefter. I mean, they all said it. They all said he's coming back. And we went, okay, it's a mistake, but it's okay. And then Doug and Howie talked. And Doug and Jeffrey Lurie talked. And Howie and Jeffrey Lurie talked. And it was decided that Doug's plan of attack was the wrong plan of attack. And guess what? You're right. What you may not know is that when Jim Schwartz gave his big emotional goodbye last week, it was after he had been offered an extension. He had been offered a chance to re-sign. And Jim Schwartz said, I'm good. I'm done. I'm out of here. This is a mess. We should have taken that as a sign. Because then comes the paraded names that Doug Pederson wanted to bring into his coaching staff. Press Taylor to offensive coordinator. Nope. Andrew Briner from pass game analyst to quarterbacks coach. Matt Burke to defensive coordinator. Maybe Corey Yindlin as defensive. Who are these guys? Who are these guys? So we're sitting here just 7 hours ago getting more frustrated. Look, we knew yesterday that there was going to be this big conversation in Florida and and maybe Doug wasn't going to make it. And I sat to myself and I said, the Philadelphia Eagles season is done. Why are we trying to steal headlines? You had great football last night. You had a Browns team win their first playoff game since the 1990s. You had the Bills win a playoff game for the first time since the 1990s. You had teams that won playoff games that hadn't won playoff games since the creation of the internet, as we know it. But the Eagles had to go out and say, hey, remember how we said our quarterback, our coach was good? We would like to change that now. We would like to alter that conversation. Let's get back in the headlines. A week later, a week after all these other teams fired their coaches, the Philadelphia Eagles are a week behind on their coaching search. Right? Adam, you're absolutely right. All the weekend was good playoffs and great games. There were some games that were boring as hell. Boring as hell. I found myself snoozing my way through the Bears game. I did not get to watch the Nickelodeon version of it. And the Rams game was a snooze fest. But some of the games were really good. I found myself outwardly cheering for the Browns and the Bills. You know? Now, let's call it like it is. The Browns are probably going to get their tails kicked in next week. But it was good football. And then the Eagles have to say, remember us? They're the nagging ex-girlfriend again. Remember us? We would like to remind you that all of the drama, all of the nonsense we put you through, we'd like to bring that back to the forefront. Right? Steven says it great here. Promoting our trash position coaches to coordinators' jobs would have been a huge mistake. So part of us sat here all day waiting for this news to drop and going, maybe Doug's getting fired because his vision is wrong. He thinks he can solve these problems with these garbage coordinators, only to find out from Jeffrey Lurie's mouth himself, that we are at the beginning, at step one, year one of a rebuild. And Doug Pederson didn't see it as the same way. That Doug Pederson was looking to win in 2021. And Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, has said, we don't think that's going to happen. So you're going to hear it here first, friends. The Philadelphia Eagles are not going to try to win next season. Yeah, they'll put a team out there and maybe they'll compete. But after the tank fest we saw, expect 17 games of trash football next year. Because the owner, the person who writes the checks, thinks we're in year one of a rebuild. Now, we knew it was bad. But I don't know if we knew it was that bad. Right? And Don says it perfectly. A fresh start with a new coaching staff who, by the way, we're going to get into some of the things that Jeffrey Lurie said today. One of the big things he said, I'm going to bring it up right now, is one of the things that he said, and I quote, there is no rush to pick a head coach. And teams that do it, that rush, are just making bad business decisions. I'm sorry. There's no rush to pick the head coach of the team when many of the top candidates have already had multiple interviews. So what? You're just going to get the one that nobody wanted? He's like, well, if we're picking into February, that's okay. And if we're the last team to pick a head coach, that's okay too. There's no fire in this team. And when we said it starts at the top, and we thought it was Doug, we thought it was Howie. No. It goes up even higher. And then he sat there explaining why Howie Roseman deserved to still have his job. Why Howie Roseman is great at his job. Oh, well, you can't look at 1 year of success. Oh, you can't look at 2 years of success. How about 3? How about 4? maybe 5. The fact that Howie Roseman survived this chopping block is insane to me. I am sitting here hours after Doug was fired, hours after listening to Jeffrey Lurie talk to the media, and still in my mind trying to wrap my head around the fact that Howie Roseman still has a job here. And what is now, in my opinion, one of the most not interesting jobs in the NFL. And yes, we understand that it's one of the 32 head coaching jobs and it's one of the 7 available coaching jobs and that somebody's going to take it. We know. But look, we have bad cap space. We've got a quarterback controversy. We've got the biggest issue is we've got a Howie. We've got a Howie. Yes, we're in a great city and we have an incredible fan base and it's culture and art and music and wonderful. We've got a Howie. Don, I am well aware of that Bama game about to kick off. If you've noticed on my scroll at the bottom, I put my prediction right there. There it comes. There it comes. Chip says Bama 42-31. I think that Alabama attack has just got too many wide receivers to stop. But you better believe while watching the Sixers game and watching the Alabama game, I'm going to give you guys as many updates as possible. And we're going to talk Sixers in a couple minutes because, again, the idea that people don't like Philadelphia, right? Our season was done. Let Cleveland have their moment. Let Buffalo have their moment. But no, here we go. Philadelphia has to squeeze back in. You listened to so many things today. I know I sat on the news today. I sat on Twitter, listened to everything. And Doug Pederson fell on the sword here, right? He's not the one who drafted the bad players. He's not the one who put the bad contracts in. So you listen and shout out to the Philadelphia sports media because when they got Jeffrey Lurie, they did not ease up at all, right? Some of the big quotes from today. Jeffrey Lurie says, Doug is like family to me. He even said, didn't deserve to be let go. Jeffrey Lurie, the guy who just fired Doug Pederson, said that Doug Pederson didn't deserve to be let go. But they went all in. They put together their Super Bowl team and then went all in for the next 2 seasons. They knew, right? They were focusing on the 2018, 2019 Super Bowls, and they were an Alshon Jeffrey drop away from getting back to the championship game, which they weren't. He dropped the ball, but they were a lot further off than that. And that they weren't focused on 2020 and beyond, that this is a real transition period. So they were allocating their resources. He kept using that phrase, allocating resources, allocating resources. We're the resources. The fan base is the resources. You know, he referred to Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz, not as players, not as quarterbacks, but assets. How out of touch do you have to be to only look at this like a business? But then to say something like, well, Doug is family. And, you know, I expect him to get a head coaching job. I expect him to get a head coaching job before the end of the week. Doug didn't deserve to be let go. But then later on, when getting peppered with questions about Nate Sudfeld, said that Nate deserved to play. Either deserving applies or it doesn't. You can't go both ways with it. You can't say that the head coach, the Super Bowl winning head coach deserves to be fired or didn't deserve to be fired, but the backup quarterback deserved playing time in a game which took the Washington football team into the playoffs, which, of course, Jeffrey Lurie messed up and called them by the team formerly known as. You know, he can't draft. Howie Roseman can't draft. He has missed on pick after pick after pick. And what I heard, and Eagles fans, don't be surprised if you see it. What I heard is that the Philadelphia Eagles with the number 6 pick in the NFL draft might trade back for more than one pick. The Philadelphia Eagles might take the 6th pick and turn it into 2 first-round picks. Because this year, they know they can't compete. They've got nothing on the salary cap. They've got old aging contracts that they've got to get rid of. I would not be surprised if the Philadelphia Eagles and all of our fans who are so excited about having the number 6 pick and which incredible game-changing wide receiver are we going to get, trade back for more picks. Because now they want to focus on building for the long run. Now they want to focus on that. Not when they have their Super Bowl winning coach. But Howie has just, and I'm going to say this again, Howie has just guaranteed himself another 2 to 3 to 4 years in the Philadelphia Eagles franchise. That's right, folks. Howie Roseman, the little weasel himself, has just guaranteed himself another 2 to 3 to 4 to maybe 5 years in the Philadelphia Eagles franchise. The entire length of this rebuild is given to Howie Roseman. I got to know what he has on Jeffrey Lurie. I have to know because it's got to be good. It's got to be good. And this is, Adam's exactly right. He didn't give a straight answer when asked if Wentz was going to be in Philly. Is Carson Wentz going to be in Philly? Well, that's not a choice for an owner to make. Bullshit. You signed the checks. Is Carson Wentz going to be in Philly? Well, that's going to be for the new head coach, and, he's an asset, and is Carson Wentz going to be in Philly? You're already seeing some of the names coming out. Lincoln Riley. If Lincoln Riley is the head coach, Jalen Hurts is the quarterback starting next year. The new coach should get to pick his quarterback. I'll give you that. But Carson Wentz, the Philadelphia Eagles chose Carson Wentz over Nick Foles and Doug Pederson, the 2 guys in the statue out front. And Matt, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Howie was the one leaking every single story that came out. Every single story that came out. If Howie can repeat the performance of 2016 until now, what performance? Missed draft picks. Bad contracts. Signing aging players. What is Howie repeating? Because all we've seen is him repeating missed draft picks, repeating poor contracts. This Philadelphia Eagles team is in shambles. The fact that the fact that we as the fans were made aware that this meeting was taking place shows how much disarray is in this organization. We are, as a Philadelphia Eagles fan base, watching the beginning of the clown car warming up. We drastically went from the worst team in the NFC to solidifying that we are the worst team in the NFC East. No questions. Because you are doing it with a brand new coaching staff. And who are we going to get? Well, there's no rush. Okay. The Eric Bieniemys, they're going to go. The Lincoln Rileys, if they go to the NFL, they're going to go. The Urban Meyers, they're going to go. The guys that you are hearing about as these top-notch coordinators, they're going to go. And who we're going to be left with? Some of these names. I've heard Deuce Staley. And you're starting to hear players say, let's have Deuce Staley coach the team. We love Deuce Staley. I wouldn't hate it. Adam Gase, you would see a fan base absolutely lose their mind. Adam Gase cannot be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, well, he developed a quarterback. Okay, if Doug Pederson, you don't need a nice guy anymore, right? Another one off of the Andy Reid tree, Mike Kafka. No, these are not. I don't know who I want. What I know I want is somebody who's going to light a fire under this team's ass, right? This is a great point that Matt makes. Why not hire him 5 years ago when you interviewed him? Because back then he wasn't a serious candidate. Remember, there are rules in the NFL where you have to interview minority candidates. He was nothing more than the minority candidate interview. Now he is a much more serious interviewee and potentially going to get this job. I am not thinking that is out of the realm of possibility. What I do think is that we are going to struggle here. And we are not a place where people want to come for one reason and one reason alone. Howie Roseman is going to ruin this team. Howie Roseman is going to blow the number 6 pick, and everyone knows that. I would love to get Brian Dabble from Buffalo. I don't know if we can. I'm going to show you guys something. So you guys know I like to show random things over the course of the show that kind of say what I'm feeling. Emmanuel Acho, just minutes after all this went down, he had some thoughts. I'm going to share these thoughts with you. Take a listen real quick.
Problem is for the
If it'll buffer, hang on.
Eagles.
We'll give it a second here. We'll back it up.
The problem is for the
we'll tell you what, we'll refresh it because it's worth a listen. You can already see that he's fired up about it. So give me 1 second. I want to make it very clear, though, that you're going to see Emmanuel Acho, who used to be in this organization, who played under a Howie Roseman. He's going to share some thoughts here. And he's not happy that Doug Pederson was the one to blame. Give this one more try here.
The problem is for the Eagles, general manager Howie Roseman has made the bed and has forced Doug Pederson to lay in it. Oh, Howie Roseman has been shopping for the ingredients and telling Doug Pederson, you got to cook with what I bought you. Oh. And Doug Pederson is like, well, wait a second. If I got to cook, can I buy my ingredients? And Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are like, no, you are going to cook with what I, Howie Roseman, general manager, have bought you. Marcellus, Doug Pederson could submit a blind resume.
This is interesting.
Say, hey, Jeffrey Lurie, owner of the Eagles, here is a resume. I have won the Super Bowl 3 years ago. I have made the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years. Only 3 other teams in the NFC have done so. And I also have the 6th best record in the NFC over the last 4 years. And the Eagles would look at this blind resume and say, wait a second, Super Bowl 3 years ago? One of 3 teams to make the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years? 6th best record in the conference in the last 4 years? Yes, you're hired. What's your name? Doug Pederson. The problem is for the...
Think about that. Think about what he just said. He could submit a blind resume with what's on his piece of paper right now, and that should be the guy that he gets hired. But the Philadelphia Eagles are in disarray. Like I said, I have to give a shout out to the Philadelphia media, because when they finally got a chance to talk to Jeffrey Lurie, they didn't go easy on him. Rob Motti asked the question that we were all thinking, and I want you to watch as Jeffrey Lurie waffles his way through this answer. He never gets what we want to hear.
Overwhelming feeling, the overwhelming sentiment among fans is that the big problem with this team has been talent evaluation. Now, based on some of your responses when we've asked about Howie, it seems you don't agree with that. But when you look at the draft record, it's been poor. When you look at one Pro Bowl player drafted in the last 7 years, how do you feel about that aspect of it? Because it's not that difficult to make a Pro Bowl. And how do you justify not making changes in terms of talent evaluation? Or are you considering making changes and maybe giving someone like John Dorsey more say, or someone else in the building more say when it comes to the draft?
What a question. What a question. That is a question, ladies and gentlemen, that is directly being asked from all of our hearts directly to the guy who signs the checks. How on earth can you say that Howie Roseman is doing what you need him to do? Direct question, direct answer. And listen, or direct question, indirect answer.
So I think the best way to look at it is you got to look at every aspect of drafting and talent acquisition.
We have.
And if you're making short-term decisions, or you have a veteran team, or you're
we had both.
Specifically focusing on one position, or things like that, or a lower volume of picks, there's no reason to not look forward in having excellent success in this area.
Correct, and you didn't.
We've over the last 10, 15 years had a lot of success.
Wrong.
A lot of success winning divisions.
Sure, that part's true.
Being in NFC championship games, I think one-fourth of the time I've been owner in the last 20 years.
But we're not talking about that.
Appeared in an NFC.
We're talking about the
game.
last.
That's hard to do
20
without really
years
good talent. And so
with Howie Roseman.
I would say that, yeah, we can do better in every single aspect. And I'm as critical as any fan.
No, you're not. You're not.
Critical
because Howie still has a job.
And look at it in a very complex way. And it's a data-driven way. It's looking at what could have been, what should have been. And but I will match our performance against most any organization and know that it's because of really good talent on the roster. So there's other ways of looking at it. But when you have a veteran roster, you're going to have many fewer starters coming from the draft and elsewhere. But listen, your words are not unheard. They're heard by me. And I feel like we've got an excellent football operations area.
Okay. I got to lose my mind here for a second. Did he just say that when you have to have starters come out of the draft, it's fine. We have veteran. Look at just this season. Jalen Reagor was the pick. Justin Jefferson set NFL all-time records. Look at a season ago. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was the pick in the second round, so he had to be a starter by this season. DK Metcalf lit the world on fire for a second straight season. Jalen Hurts is a second-round draft pick, should have been the starter by the end of the season, and he was. And he played like a rookie does. But you don't do that when you have a franchise quarterback who just signed a multi-million-dollar extension and then spend a solid 15 minutes of your press conference raving about Nate Sudfeld. What is this team doing? You know, Dan brings up a really interesting point here. He says 2 years at 9-7 in the worst division. Howie is awful, but Doug has been awful as well. Agreed. We have said for weeks and weeks and months, blow it all up. In fact, let's look a little further, right? The Philadelphia Eagles, over the last 5 seasons, had 9 or fewer wins in 4 of those seasons. Let me say that statistic again. In the 5 seasons that Doug Pederson was the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, 4 of those 5 seasons, they had 9 or fewer wins. But they had so much playoff success and they won a Super Bowl. You play in the NFC East. You play in the NFC East, which is the worst division in football. And you could only eke out 9 wins 4 of those seasons. In a piss-poor division. Right. Missing on Chin. Absolutely. And you know what? Basically, they did. Adam, they did ask him why Howie's still at the job. And the answer was very clear. It was clear in the press conference. It was clear in the statement where Doug was let go, is that they trust Howie Roseman. My friends, get used to it. Howie Roseman is not going anywhere. You know, and we should have known something was up because all weekend you heard things, right? The Senior Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles were asked, would you like to be the coaches in the Senior Bowl? And they said, no, thank you. Why? There is a rule that says teams with new coaching staffs aren't eligible to coach in the Senior Bowl. We should have known right there, because how can you evaluate talent when you don't even know who your head coach is? With the number 6 pick in the draft, you wanted to be as close to as much of the talent as possible. Nope. Press Taylor was not going to be good enough as an offensive coordinator. So let's trade Doug Pederson to the Jets. There was so much coming out. It should have been on the wall for us to see. And instead, we got the shenanigans of today. Right? We're not talking about the Cleveland Browns and how they whooped the hell out of the Steelers last night. We're not talking about any of the great playoff games coming up or the great playoff games of this weekend. We are talking about the complete overthrow of the Philadelphia Eagles that has to start right now. And for Doug to say, oh, well, it could take as long as we want. I mean, come on. Calling your players assets, saying that he had nothing to do with the Washington football team flopping. You know, we need to focus on the midterm and the long term. We're not going to focus so much on 2021. You're telling me that the Philadelphia Eagles are not going to focus on 2021. All you season ticket holders, I'm telling you right now, they're not focusing on 2021. They're focusing on midterm and long term, which is great. It's great. You want to build a franchise. But to fire your Super Bowl winning coach because he was focused on winning, how do you write that off? There were strategic mistakes that were made for short-term decision making with the win now mentality. And again, he said flat out, he wouldn't be surprised. Jeffrey Lurie said flat out, he wouldn't be surprised if Doug is a coach for an NFL team later this week, and neither would I. And I bet you he finds success. Why? Because he won't have Howie Roseman questioning his every move. So for the last time, at least on this show, talking about Doug Pederson, I'm going to show you just what the ice cream man is firmly going to be known for in my mind and my heart. Mr. Vanilla, play calling, and a love of ice cream.
And then I'll treat you to some ice cream. Let's check out this video, and then again, treat you to some ice cream. And we'll play this video, and then I'll treat you to some ice cream. We got a little ice cream coming up before it all melts. I know we got some ice cream that's melting, so we got to get out of here. Wish you guys the best of luck. Treat you to some vanilla ice cream here in a second. We got a little video right here, and then I'm going to treat you to some hopefully, you guys know that last week, Monday night or Sunday night? Who knew that? That's bull. We'll get over here and get some ice cream before it kind of. Nice job on the Hoggy Dogs last week. And then again, I'll treat you to some ice cream. We got a great video for you, and then got some ice cream that's melting. That's some ice cream could be melted, but we got some ice cream for you here right after the video. I know it's a little warm in here. We'll get you out after this. Got some ice cream next door. Here we go. We'll watch this video.
You can't make this stuff up, guys. You can't make this stuff up. The Philadelphia Eagles have a lot of work to do, and we're going to keep talking about it on our Wednesday night show when the boys rejoin me. But I want to switch gears here for a second. Yes, and Dan, absolutely. Like you wrote, Breyer's changing the name of Vanilla to Doug's offense. It was bad. It was so bad this season. Sixers are down 20 at the half. The Philadelphia 76ers are down about 20 points at the half. Which leads us to our conversation. And I saw Adam a little while ago say they shouldn't even be playing right now. And I agree. Adam said it, right? The Sixers should not be playing at all. Can we please? And again, this goes back to my original point. And I know I'm talking Sixers basketball on the day that the Philadelphia Eagles are without their head coach. I get it, but I have to distract myself a little bit. The Philadelphia 76ers, just so you know, Ohio State Clemson, or Ohio State Alabama, 7's up. Tied game. Going to be a high-scoring one, folks. The Philadelphia 76ers played a game this weekend, missing so many players. Missing Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Tobias Harris, 4 of their 5 starters. Missing Shake Milton. Missing so many players that they almost forfeited the game. But for them suiting up Mike Scott, who was in no way going to play. They played an NBA basketball game against the Denver Nuggets with 7 players. You want to talk about an obscene amount of minutes? You want to talk about an obscene number of exhaustion kick? We're only a couple games into the season, and these players are expected to play a full season. The Philadelphia 76ers were forced to play the game. And you know what? They played their asses off. Tyrese Maxey, once everybody is back and healthy, deserves to be a starter on this Philadelphia 76ers team. You saw it. You saw it. He's starting again tonight. Again, Sixers down almost 20 at the half. But it's interesting because, again, I tie into my original point. No one likes us, and we do care. The Philadelphia 76ers were expected to play with 7 players, and they did, and they fought their asses off. Yet the Boston Celtics Miami Heat game got canceled. The very next night, they canceled an NBA basketball game for the same sort of reason. Then, today, because the Dallas Mavericks doesn't have 8 eligible players, the Mavericks Pelicans game was postponed. Why is there a double standard? Why is it not fair? Why is it not balanced? In fact, the Celtics Bulls game has also been postponed. The Sixers have a game against the Miami Heat coming up tomorrow. The next game is, not tomorrow, the 2 days after that. In fact, the Sixers have 5 games in 7 days. Yet again tonight, they are playing without 8 players, including Simmons. No Simmons, no Harris, no Milton, no Thibault. Why are some games getting postponed and some games not? And Adam is exactly right. They hate us. They hate us so much, in fact. Johnny, what's going on? We're bitching about the Sixers and how they are just screwing the Sixers left and right.
Yeah, the biggest thing with that is all these other teams are the postponements. They're getting all these postponements and everything, and the Sixers have to, put an injured Mike Scott in uniform.
Yep.
And not even going to play, and you play with 7 players. How is that fair? It's not fair. And then they find Ben Simmons.
Just about to get into that. So, Johnny, share that information if you would.
So they fined Ben Simmons, was it Ben Simmons and the Sixers? They fined the Sixers $25,000.
The Sixers were fined $25,000. Adam says, "What's up?"
What's up?
They fined the 76ers $25,000 for not initially listing Ben Simmons on the injury report for the Nuggets game. But, and this is the part that was blowing my mind, Kyrie Irving is literally nowhere to be found right now.
Exactly.
He is off the grid. His head coach doesn't know where he is. It's fine. Kyrie.
Well, maybe, he does think the world is flat, so maybe he just fell off that other side.
Maybe he literally fell off. I don't know. I truly don't understand how the NBA can go, okay, the Sixers are playing the Nuggets. That's not really a major game. Go play. Wait a second. Boston and Miami. That'll get some viewers. Postpone that.
Yeah. It makes no sense. It really makes no sense.
Right. What ends up happening is the exact same thing that happened in the NFL this season, right? The NFL had a marquee game, which was the Steelers versus the Ravens. And all of the Ravens caught COVID. Literally all of the Ravens caught COVID. So they pushed the game. And they still weren't going to get enough players back. So what did they do? They pushed the game again.
Yep.
Yet the Denver Broncos had to roll out there with a practice squad wide receiver playing quarterback.
Kendall Hilton, Wake Forest. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
I know you did.
But,
the Cleveland Browns had to play with no wide receivers.
Exactly. Because the games didn't matter. Because they really had some implication. The Cleveland with no receivers had some implication. Mm-hmm. But the New Orleans, Denver, it didn't matter. Denver wasn't very good.
Right.
Yeah, and the Ravens multiple times had issues.
Yeah, I struggle. Look, we understand that sports are a business. We understand that the money dictates decisions. But to have it so outwardly biased, again, my overall theme of this tonight's show is no one likes us, and we do care. This is enough. You're seeing it in Philadelphia where we're trying to steal headlines. So it's understandable that no one likes us because we're not involved in this team anymore. We're not involved in the season anymore. But we went, listen, usually coaches get fired the day after the season. We'll wait a week so that we're the only ones in the headline on Monday.
Yeah.
The Sixers, I don't understand how they are postponing some. The Mavericks Pelicans isn't a marquee game to me. Mavericks Pelicans, good game. But right now, the idea of Tyrese Maxey versus Trae Young, that's a better game.
Yeah.
So Johnny, we're backing it up a second here. And I know that we were talking Sixers, and I'm finding myself frustrated because it's ridiculous. And we did an emergency show today where myself, Phil, and Jeff joined on, and we expressed our initial thoughts. Johnny, because of work, was not able to share his initial thoughts. So Adam asks the $1 million question. Johnny, what do you think of Doug getting fired?
So you know that I was in the camp of giving Doug another year, giving him another opportunity to go forward and to be able to be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
But the notion of the meetings, the info that came out, and the notion of the meetings with Jeffrey Lurie was he wanted to promote Press Taylor to offensive coordinator, Andrew Briner up to quarterback coach, and then Matt Burke to defensive coordinator, and like Corey Unlin to defensive coordinator. I don't know if it's co-defensive coordinators. I'm not sure exactly. And keep Dave Phipp as special teams coach. He didn't want to really do anything in terms of changing anything up drastically and wanted to be the voice.
Mm-hmm.
There is where I kind of wavered and said to myself, I don't think I can really push any more in the Doug camp of, you have to keep the guy around. Because unfortunately, he was unhappy. And it dates back to when they fired Groh and, the reports that came out and they fired Groh and they fired Carson Walsh, that he threatened to quit. Right. And then there was even reports before that, they, after 2016, they were thinking of possibly getting rid of Doug and everything. So
after his first season.
Exactly. With all that and seeing all of that, I was kind of on the camp of, fresh voice. But the problem is you got rid of one thing that a lot of fans complained about.
Correct.
But you did not get rid of what all the fans are complaining about. And it's the elephant in the room. You have a guy that isn't going to lose his job no matter what he does. And even, I don't know if we touched on the Jeffrey Lurie press conference yet.
We have. And it was made very, very clear that because we are now at the beginning of a 2, 3, 4, 5-year rebuild, Howie Roseman's not going anywhere for the long haul. Howie Roseman is staying around.
Yeah. And he the one thing that I noticed, and I mentioned a couple times in like our chats and stuff, he called the quarterbacks assets. They're great
assets. Yes.
He didn't say they're great quarterbacks, and they call them assets. When you call something an asset, it means you're using it for financial gain or something along the lines of that. Draft pick compensation, which would be financial gain in terms of NFL franchise, because you're building a team by using the picks. But that a lot of what Jeffrey Lurie said, and granted, the questions were fantastic by what some of the guys
I said the same thing. I gave so much credit to the Philadelphia sports media because they did not ease up at all.
No. And then the whole aspect of, talking about Howie and the whole aspect about there were guys beforehand that we could have gotten that we didn't get. And then, it's just, you're dancing around the question. The roster is the way it is because of the draft picks and because of the issues. And I mentioned on my draft show, I mentioned it a number of times, and I compared the Eagles drafting and everything that they did, because in 2016, they went up and they got their franchise quarterback, as per se. The Los Angeles Rams in 2016 traded a bunch to go up and get their franchise quarterback. And what did they do in their number of drafts, which since 2016, they had not had a first round draft pick.
Right.
And look at you watch that game against Seattle and you watch the defense, you see even on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, these players that they're getting production out of. Yes, it's partial on the GM who's drafting this talent, and it's partially on the coaching staff that is getting enough out of the talent and getting basically the production out of them. And what you said is, how do I feel about Doug Pederson? to me, looking at it, you're not getting the production, because if you want to keep bringing back the same guys and not changing it, you're doing the same thing over and over.
Agreed. It's the definition of insanity.
And you're not changing anything up. And that's the biggest thing with, and Philadelphia sports fans are not stupid. They're not dumb. They know what they're seeing. They know what kind of product you're putting out on the field. So
right, and it was made very clear in the press conference, and I said this a couple times already tonight. It was made very clear in the press conference that the Philadelphia Eagles are expecting to put a garbage product out next season because they're now looking for midterm and long-term fixing, which is what we were asking for this entire time. Stop putting Band-Aids on amputations.
Yeah.
And at this point, you chopped off the foot, but you left the rest of the leg. The whole leg needed to go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're letting the infection spread here. It's. I know it was a really gruesome example I gave, but that's what you're doing.
But yeah, and you don't build a team like you can't build younger teams. I understand you went to the Super Bowl and you won it in 2017, but in 2018 and 2019, you had a combined 10 draft picks. It is very difficult to hit on when you have 5 draft picks per season to try and hit on 2 to 3 guys to be very good contributors. Now, 2018 is looking like a pretty decent draft in terms of some of the players you got. 2019 is some of it's suspect, a lot of it's suspect. But you need those plethora of picks like you have this year, and you're probably going to get rid of some veterans and get some more picks. But I understand the rebuild and everything like that. But it's going to put to the question is, making this move a week late, couple of meetings with the owner. To me, they have their head coach in mind already and who they want.
So, see, I already addressed this. I don't think they do, because one of the last things that Jeffrey Lurie said in his 44-minute press conference after being 35 minutes late was that there is no rush to pick the head coach. There is no rush to pick the head coach. In fact, if we're the last ones to pick our head coach, that's okay. At this point, I don't want the table scraps of the head coaching tree. You look at a coach, like I personally, I love defense, right? I love a high-scoring offense. I'm over here rocking my Philadelphia Soul jersey, the definition of an offensive league, right? And Matt, where does one buy a Soul jersey? You have to remember when the Soul were a team, and actually go out and buy the Bon Jovi Soul jersey. That's how old school we are here. So
living on a prayer. See,
exactly.
Chip, you think about it. It's actually pretty fitting you're wearing that, because we are living on a prayer.
That's why I wore. So I was thinking about look, I like to try and wear my cool jerseys, the ones I got from 99jersey.com. There's your plug there. This was not the night for that, because this team has no soul right now, because Howie Roseman is sucking the life out of it. I do not understand how Howie Roseman escaped yet again. And now we're beginning this head coaching search. And I would love a guy like Robert Saleh from the 49ers. I love him. He is a great defensive coach. Jeffrey Lurie's own words tonight was that he puts an extreme value on offense, and that defense, it varies.
Well, you remember his first hire was the defensive coach, and it was Ray Rhodes, and that did not go.
Loved it. I loved Ray Rhodes.
And the thing was, it ended badly, so maybe it just put.
Yes, it did.
I don't want to draft a defensive coach. But the thing with that is, you draft a defensive coach, you need to find the offensive mind who's going to be running the offense, to be the head coach of the offense, which in that point, it gives you a ton of candidates, because you're bringing in an offensive coordinator who is going to run that whole entire offense. And this is perfect, because this comment would be, if you bring Saleh in here, D'Amico Ryans definitely would be that defensive coordinator possibility, unless he doesn't get bumped up in San Fran. But I love that. I just think it's unrealistic for what he said. And that's what, for me,
do too.
For me, I just feel that they may already have their guy already picked. I don't know. I know you have to do interviews and everything like that, but that's just my feeling is they have the guy already picked.
And he did come out and say that, Deuce Staley is a legitimate candidate. And in my thinking, I go, okay, let me try and make some sense of this. Maybe Deuce Staley is the guy because he can focus on being a leader of men. He's a fiery leader of men. He's not a great offensive mind. He's not a great defensive mind. You bring in unbelievably strong coordinators to do that. Let Deuce Staley coach this team. I could get behind that move. Unfortunately, Deuce Staley, any coach that they bring in has to be a Howie Roseman whipping boy who is going to do what Howie Roseman tells them to do. And that's not okay.
Yeah.
That's not okay. Alabama just scored again. It's going to be 14-7, as you were saying.
I like that score. I'm not an Ohio State fan, so it's okay.
Yeah, I got Bama 42-31 on the bottom here.
A lot of pro prospects in that game as well, which is
right. And I know you're the draft guy, so I'm glad that you brought that up. So Dan says right away, he goes, he's been in the room. I'm going to pass on Deuce. Maybe, we don't know what's going on. What bugs me is that we don't know what's going on.
Did you see with the Malcolm Jenkins though?
He said Deuce is the guy.
Yeah, you could touch on that if you didn't. But
no, Malcolm Jenkins came flat out and said Deuce is the guy, and everyone's going, "Oh, well, you're not here anymore." That wasn't our choice. I would love to have Malcolm Jenkins still in this team because at least there'd be a leader in the room.
Yeah.
My question for you is, and one thing that I truly believe, listening to the way that Jeffrey Lurie spoke today, that we're in the middle of a rebuild here. We need assets. I would not be surprised if the Philadelphia Eagles trade back from that 6th pick. I know we need a playmaker. I do. I know we need a playmaker. And that at this point, because we're rebuilding, we need to draft the best available player. I'm just not hearing faith in this leadership. I think we trade back.
The feeling that I have, having the number 6 pick and seeing there are quarterbacks available. So if I'm probably not going to go the way you're thinking. I'm not saying they draft a quarterback. I'm saying.
Oh, you're not saying we're a quarterback factory?
No, we're not a quarterback factory. But if there are quarterbacks on the board when the Eagles are picking 6th, there could be a team behind them, like a Carolina, like a San Francisco, like a Denver, who trade up a few spots and you get an extra 3rd round pick or something else. The Eagles need to come out of this draft, in my feeling, with 11 to 12 selections.
Of players that are going to make the roster and contribute this year.
Not saying that. I'm saying they need 11 to 12 selections. Now, remember, the practice squad this year, this upcoming year, it's not going to be like it was, I don't think. I'm not sure. They didn't really.
Well, we have no idea.
But the practice squad itself is going to be 10 players, 12 players in 2022.
Okay.
So you're going to have, yes, if maybe 2 or 3 guys don't make the roster, they'll shift down to the practice squad if you try. But my thing is you need 11 to 12 picks. Jeffrey said he wants to get youthful, younger.
Yep.
You get these picks.
And cheaper. Remember, rookies are cheap.
Exactly.
When we're up against the cap like we are, we need to get a 53-man roster on game day that we can afford. Right now, we don't have that ability.
And the other aspect of it, we will touch on it on our weekly shows this offseason, is the whole Carson Wentz dynamic and the Jalen Hurts thing. We're going to touch on that. So that's something that for the future, as it goes, because it's not a definite Carson's going to return because it all depends on the head coach. There's a lot of factors here. So we're definitely going to be touching on that. But in terms of the draft, it needs to be a slam dunk draft, because what can wind up happening is, I understand the Giants are getting better and everything like with them. But if you look at them, when was the last time they were in the playoffs? And look at all the high draft picks they've had and trying to rebuild the team. It could take a long time, or it could be a lot shorter. It really all depends. And this is why it's so crucial. This next head coach, this whole draft, the players, the coach you get in here to be able to mold the players you have on the roster, the young guys. Like, Miles Sanders and Dallas Goedert and these
Right.
other dynamic players that you have on this team, and these younger players of guys like Jordan Mailata and these younger guys that showed you some flashes.
Right.
You need to be able to get the right guy. That's why it is absolutely crucial.
Absolutely.
And it's something that I'm actually going to keep focusing on and hitting on. And, for my draft show, it's going to be nice now. Now the Eagles have the 6th pick with a new head coach and everything. So it's going to be, there's a different dynamic in the room here. And it leads to an interesting offseason, which we already knew was going to be an interesting offseason. We knew it was going to be.
We realized this, though. We didn't realize it was going to be. Look, after last week, 1 week ago, I sat here and broke down the Howie Roseman, Doug Pederson press conference and going, look, they didn't fire anybody. It was wrong. They should have, but here we go. They're moving in. And 1 week later, they went, we're just fucking with you. And they got rid of Doug Pederson. They are a week behind every other team in the NFL. And that is stupid. And the fact that Howie Roseman is still here blows my mind.
The other thing to think about is, yes, they're a week behind, but are one of the candidates they want still on a playoff team? So
that hasn't mattered because all these playoff guys are already interviewed. The enemy's interviewed a whole bunch of places.
You can still interview and everything, but you can't, of course, be the head coach until they're eliminated, be officially announced. So, I don't know. And you say it's a week behind. That's why I think for some reason they have the guy already who they want.
Right. And,
my biggest
we know that Jeffrey Lurie is just going to answer the questions the way that he decided to answer them. But he was asked that specifically. Do you have a guy in mind? No, I'm cool with being the last team. We're going to take our time, and I will lead the search like I always do.
Yeah. But my other issue is I don't want Deuce Staley to get a interview because he's a minority candidate. Because to cover my basis of being in
We did that already. We did that already.
Yeah. The other thing is, I had somebody bring this up. I want your opinion on it.
Okay.
I have a Pittsburgh Steelers fan that I work with, and he brought up a scenario about how, Tomlin's not doing very. I know Tomlin's a defensive guy though, but if Tomlin were to be let go, I think he would shoot to the top of my list, in my opinion.
Of the Philadelphia Eagles?
Of candidates.
I like his no-nonsense way of doing things. I think that where you would struggle is...
No, I don't think he's going to get let go. I don't think that at all.
No, I don't think so either. I think Ben might be done, mostly because his arm is still falling off from throwing 68 passes yesterday.
Yeah.
We bitch and complain about the run-to-pass ratio. He threw the ball 68 times. That doesn't give him credit for the 2-point conversions. That was another 2 or 3 passes. Warm-up passes, that's another 20, 25 passes. He threw the ball over 100 times yesterday.
Yeah.
On a surgically repaired elbow.
Yeah.
So I do not want Mike Tomlin here. For that reason alone, because you can just say, fuck the run game at that point.
But, it's just another dynamic.
It's a name. I didn't think that we were talking defensive coordinators. That I understand. That we have a whole list of. We're talking the job right now. And the fact that Jim Schwartz was saying, hey, would you like the job back? And he laughed and he was like, I'd rather retire. I know what's coming.
Yeah. Or did Jim want to be the head coach? And they said, we can bring him back as defensive coordinator. No, I'll just take some time off.
Maybe. I mean, he wasn't a great head coach. And you listen to the press conference today, and Jeffrey Lurie throws Jim Schwartz under the bus. Oh, yeah, we won a Super Bowl. They scored an awful lot of points, though.
Yeah.
That was a dick thing to say.
But no, you could say that. But then when
you're right.
You draft the right guy, it's okay, my boy. It's okay.
Right.
Come on.
I cannot wait for the Howie Roseman tell-all book for him to reveal what he has actually on Jeffrey Lurie. Because it's got to be good.
Yeah.
Maybe Jeffrey Lurie doesn't, recycle or something. I don't know. He so goes green. Maybe he doesn't recycle. Maybe he drives a Hummer on his. I don't know. I don't know, but it has to be something good.
Maybe Jeffrey Lurie was the one who gave the information to Robert Kraft on where you get massages.
Well, there you go. And that would, tie back into Matt's conversation here where, the Pats have been only one recently successful team. Maybe Robert Kraft in response said, all right, listen, we'll give you one Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know. The team is in shambles. The city is in shambles as the Sixers are, getting ready to call me to be their, fourth string point guard at this point, just because they don't have the bodies. That my whole idea of the show tonight was Philly. No one likes us, and we do care. We are a passionate fan base. We care. So for us to be dealing with a product in the Philadelphia Eagles that, really isn't interested in providing a good product to the fans, that pisses me off. To see the NBA, we finally have a Sixers team that is winning and had the best record in the NBA. Well, they can play without their superstars. The Phillies. Today is January 11th. JT Realmuto is still unsigned. But don't worry, we signed a guy with a 9 ERA. Let me say that again. A 9 ERA.
So for you, it's difficult. For me, unfortunately, I'm not a Phillies fan.
I know you're a Mariners fan.
Hey, it's still been 20 years since I've seen a playoff, but they are younger. They are better. So there's some hope for me. For you, unfortunately, I don't know. For me, I have to rewatch Flyers. So again, I started off my show by saying, look, I am a 4-for-4 guy, but I haven't out of those 4, the Flyers are my number 4. I haven't watched a lot of Flyers hockey over the last couple of years. You better damn well believe I flipped on the intra-squad scrimmage last night, just so number 1, I could learn some of the names, but number 2, just so I could get and watch a team that gives a shit. Yeah, I love their head coach.
Sixers give a shit. But the league doesn't give a shit about them.
Yeah, it's noted. It's evident. We see it with our own 2 eyes.
Should the NBA bring back the bubble? Big question.
It worked pretty well.
It worked real damn well. You're now looking at the NFL, and they're going, well, we're going to continue to. The head coach yesterday of the Cleveland Browns didn't get to coach in his playoff game. Dan, I'm going to tune into that. I'm going to come on to that. I'm going to be over there taking notes like a teacher. I'll have my glasses over here ready to go. I'll probably educate me over here, I'm ready to learn some things. The head coach of the Cleveland Browns didn't get to coach yesterday in this team's playoff game. Why? Because he had COVID. You're telling me that you cannot bring a bubble of some kind? Isolate these players. Aaron Rodgers, what did he say after his team got the bye? None of you go out and get COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's
we live in a weird world right now, and as Philadelphia Eagles fans, as I don't know. Like I keep saying, people don't seem to like us in Philly here, which is cool when we win. It's pretty shitty when we get screwed.
Yeah. No, it sucks because this offseason is not like the offseason that we wanted. There was a lot of
right.
In terms of all the teams too. Like
absolutely.
Even with it, I'll even touch on the Phillies for you, like, all the Philly fans and everything, and JT Realmuto and Bryce Harper, and you have some, guys there, and just the problem
you've got a great coach. You've got a great coach.
Yeah. But the issue is when you have a general manager that blatantly says, well, I'm not really trying to trade for players to make a wild card. You get in. How did the Marlins win their World Series? By being a wild card. You get in, and from there, anything happens.
Right. Just wanted to update everybody. It's 14-all in the national championship game. So I love that Johnny joined the show. He had to do a couple things at work, but I threw him the offer of coming on, and you're getting some questions out. So any Stefanski coaches as viable options? Any of these Browns guys available as the new head coach of the Eagles?
So I don't want to give away the players.
Well, that's our Wednesday show. I know.
To me, no, nothing that I would really think about, just because I don't know. There's a lot of more options ahead of them that I would think of. But my option is the defensive coach.
Yeah, I was about to say, who's your dream coach?
Well,
I'll tell you what. We'll even have some fun with this. Past or present, living or dead, who's your dream coach of the Philadelphia Eagles?
So you mean
literally? It's the what 3 historical figures would you like to have dinner with kind of question. Anybody in the entire world who has ever been a head coach of any level anywhere, who would you like to coach the Philadelphia Eagles?
I'm on record of saying I never wanted to get rid of Andy Reid.
Okay, bring back Big Red.
I'm not saying bring him back. You can't. I don't want to, recycle an old guy, anything like that.
Right.
But in terms of a coach that I would want, I like Kyle Shanahan because of how he runs a team and how he runs an offense and the way he does that. But Jim Johnson for defensive coordinator, 100%. I love Jim Johnson. But out of these candidates, one guy that I would love to see, like my dream. And on Wednesday, I'll give you my dream, basically head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator.
Yeah, the big 3.
I'll give the big 3 of what I want and also what I think is going to happen. Okay. But my dream coach would be Saleh from the 49ers.
Yeah.
I want a guy, just the way he is and his emotion on the sideline. And it's like, his team was so battered and beat to hell and beat to shit that, they still had a very good defense with players. You didn't know their names. Eagles had the same thing, but the defense.
We learned their names for the wrong reasons.
Exactly. But his emotion on the sideline and just.
You can tell he cares. You can tell he's involved in the game.
Exactly. That energy.
I showed, before you joined on, I showed a solid 1 minute of clip of Doug Pederson talking about vanilla ice cream. It exists in this universe at meetings with NFL coaches and players. A solid 1 minute of ice cream talk. So, I mean, I don't know. Real quick, well, Matt wants to know how you became a Mariners fan. I personally like the Mariners as far as Jay Buhner and Ken Griffey Jr. That would be my answer. I like that team for that reason. Share some stories.
So, now, I was born 91. So I'll give you kind of a time frame.
Okay.
And, I played baseball. I didn't really watch a lot of it. I played it. I didn't really pay too much attention. But the game Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest on Nintendo 64. Me and my buddies would always play it, and I would always be, Griffey's on the cover. So in the backyard, put your hat backwards, pretend to do the Griffey swing, teach yourself how to hit left-handed. He's on the Seattle Mariners. That's the team Seattle Mariners. So the late 90s, that's the team I rooted for. I didn't get to watch much of them just because West Coast, being a 7-8-year-old, I couldn't. But that's the team I liked. And then he got traded to the Reds. I followed him, but I still liked the Mariners because then Ichiro came. And Ichiro was the big thing. So they won in 2000. They made the playoffs. 2001, they won 116 games. I'm like, oh, man, my team is great. It's so good. All right. From then on, they went stagnant, but I still stayed a fan.
That's a team that I cannot believe they didn't win World Series with Randy Johnson and Ken Griffey Jr. and Jay. I mean, you had some studs.
Yep. Edgar Martinez, a young Alex Rodriguez. My favorite trivia question is the Edgar double in 1995 against the Yankees. Edgar Martinez hits the double down the line. Griffey's sprinting around the bases as fast as he can. And he comes around. He slides into home. The first guy to jump into his arms. A 19-year-old Alex Rodriguez.
There you go.
I always like saying, they had all the makings. 2000, after Griffey was gone, they got Mike Cameron, who ended up becoming one of my favorite players ever. I loved the way he played the game. And they had him and A-Rod, and then A-Rod leaves. And it's just, they had so many great players, they just couldn't mold it all together. Exactly.
Right.
Then they tried to sign free agents like Adrian Beltre and Richie Sexton. It didn't help. This isn't a Mariner show, so I'm going to stop. But I can go on. And on. But it's the emphasis of not making the playoffs since 01 that I hope that they have a Cleveland Browns type of Buffalo Bills type of thing of getting back to the postseason. So that's my hope for 2021.
Okay, Dan said that. So Dan is legit here, right? Homered off of him in an All-Star game. Homered off of Brett Boone. So I cannot say the same thing. So because of Dan's comment, and look, I know you weren't on earlier. Dan said that the highest scoring year in the history of the NFL, which was this year, the Eagles ranked 31st. Enough said. Vanilla is an exotic flavor compared to Doug's offense.
Which
and
Jeff
Adam
mentioned that. Lori mentioned about that.
So I have to show this again because you did miss it. I want to show you guys a solid minute of Doug talking about ice cream. And he even did it boring. He even did it boringly. So I give you this.
We'll watch this video, and then I'll treat you to some ice cream. All right, let's check out this video, and then, again, treat you to some ice cream. We'll play this video, and then I'll treat you to some ice cream. We got a little ice cream coming up before it all melts. I know we got some ice cream that's melting, so we got to get out of here. Wish you guys the best of luck. Treat you to some vanilla ice cream here in a second. We got a little video right here, and then I'm going to treat you to some hopefully, you guys know that last week, Monday night or Sunday night? Who knew that? That's bull. Let's go. We'll get over here and get some ice cream before it kind of. Nice job on the Hoggy Dogs last week. And then again, I'll treat you to some ice cream. We got a great video for you, and then got some ice cream that's melting. Got some ice cream could be melted, but we got some ice cream for you here right after the video. I know it's a little warm in here. We'll get you out after this. Got some ice cream. Let's go. Here we go. We'll watch this video.
I can't. This is now be a third. The video was awful itself. I didn't know that existed when I started calling his offense vanilla, but this is great.
Well, maybe that's why these players are getting hurt. Maybe they're not in shape and eating too much ice cream. Too
much ice cream, man. They got the sprinkle wrinkles. That's how all of their injuries were sprinkle wrinkles.
Yeah.
On that note, I'm going to start wrapping it up. Again, I want to thank Johnny for coming on. I know he had some thoughts about the firing of Doug Pederson today. I want to give him an outlet to talk about some things. Again, this is Chips and Dish. We do this every Monday night. I want to remind you guys that most of my jerseys, not this one, are from 99jersey.com. Are now partnered with All About the Birds. There's a code there, All About the Birds, X99 jersey for a 15% discount. Phil will tell you with his Shane Falco jersey. I also have the Shane Falco, the Bobby Boucher. I'm sure there's some cool Mariners ones if you find them.
Looking at it, there's some nice thing. I like they have I think they have a Kobe Bryant one on there. There's some pretty cool things. People should check it out. There's some nice nice ones on there.
I also have the Kobe Bryants. So far, Devontae Smith has 9 for 124 in a 14-14 game. I want to thank everybody who was watching, who commented, who was participating. It's always fun to do the back and forth with you guys. Adam, as always, I know Darren a little earlier. I haven't seen Darren in a while, but I appreciate you tuning in. We always end every single show here a little bit differently. Of course, we do our normal Go Birds because we're all about the birds here. Don't forget to join us Wednesday night when we really break down whatever the hell is going to happen in the next 48 hours. Dan's got an All About the Birds baseball jersey, so there you go. We also end things a little differently here. So, Go Birds.
Go Birds.
And my corny ass way of ending things is, just keep chipping away at life. I got to work on that. But we're going to end it the same way we started this, just with the idea that nobody likes us, but we kind of do care. Go Gadget taking us out. See you guys next time.
See ya.